Flex on flex.
Flex on flex. So what's up, man?
What up? What up?
Did you think about more? Like I think we said we were going to talk about guitar memories.
I think we'll maybe splash in guitar memories and go down that road if it goes there. But I just wanted to kind of just talk about the instrument.
A guitar?
Yeah, and its effect and all that. It's not really to me, it kind of has a lot of different. It's not a harmonica, you know, or a bass guitar. It could be used for a lot of different, like, I don't know. To me, it can hold down more people with this power.
So you're talking, I don't know I don't know what you're talking about.
Actually, there's a so I was actually trying to justify what I'm talking about, but there's a article that's like 10 reasons why, like, scientific reasons why you should play guitar.
Really?
And I thought we should just kind of go through it, but throw in our memories, because kind of hearing these, I don't know, what do you call them, facts or ideas, but like they make sense. Like,
okay, give us some examples here.
Like multitasking.
Okay, I can see that.
The feel of pleasure. It said that you can actually being able to strum away your stress, and like maybe I didn't realize that's what we were doing back in the day. Maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
on an almost daily basis.
Suddenly we could just play music because we decided to learn this instrument.
Yeah. Huh.
So, that was kind of. Then I have a bunch of just little guitar facts.
You got guitar facts right now?
I mean, not so much guitar facts, but like, are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I missed
okay, well.
One of my so I was recording. That's good. One of my earliest memories watching movies, and I must have been not old enough to be able to like pick up the guitar, but like in Desperado, like the opening scene when they're like jamming out, and they're playing their chords and having their certain picking parts, and it was just, I don't want to say that made me want to learn guitar, but it was definitely sort of like guitar being portrayed as this, not a weapon, an instrument, but just like this element of your, I don't want to say soul, but just sort of this kind of, you're making music suddenly, and the power of music. You can hold down a crowd or have someone's attention. I don't know. It's just badass.
Yeah.
So,
well, according to your soul theory, like, I'm going off of that. I was thinking, as you were talking right there, that if you have 3 people with a guitar and they play the same notes, the same songs, there's a really good chance they're just going to sound completely different. They're playing the same song, playing the same chords, but they're 3 different people and they have their own signature in their guitar playing. And I've heard that several times where, like, I'm jamming with somebody and, like right down to the strumming, I've always had this, when I finally found the rhythm that is my rhythm, and I really think it has something to do with your heartbeat, that's when I started playing what I consider as good playing. Like when I was playing solid chords and, I don't know, a complete rhythm that I don't know, when my skill actually kicked in, when I actually started showing signs that I had learned something, it started with that rhythm, and I think it was like my signature. And once I had it, that was me from there on. Like,
oh yeah.
Like once I developed it, I was like, that's me. Like whenever I pick up the guitar and I'm playing with like Derek, when I'm playing with my cousin, he has a rhythm. He's a lot more studied with the guitar. Like he spends a lot of time with his guitar, and when we play, we'll play songs together that like off of a Chordify app, an app called Chordify, and basically we'll be playing the same song, but we both have totally different rhythms.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like you were talking about. Everybody's kind of got like their fingerprint, if you will, when they're playing guitar.
For sure. Yeah. No, you're right.
What were one of these facts?
Okay, so. Hearing music triggers the release of dopamine in the brain, chemical that's released during sex.
Yeah. Well, pleasure.
So yeah, it was just pretty much like playing guitar was sort of like your pleasure.
Yeah, your sex.
But I think that's what was inspiring to learn the guitar was like even now, like you can listen to the radio and learn the chords and suddenly be able to play the song that's whatever popping but maybe an alternative world back in the 90s there was, or early 2000s it was. I can't remember what tour it was, but it was the guy from State, Aaron Lewis, playing the song Outside. Mm-hmm. He was just playing the acoustic guitar by himself with Fred Durst was. I don't know what Fred Durst was doing. He was
he's just making noise in the background.
It was featuring Fred Durst, but
yeah,
I didn't really see what he did.
I think he was being like the hype man. Like just throwing shit in there like noise.
Well, maybe people would think they're getting Fred Durst, but then hear this. So maybe he's trying to add his pizzazz to the song. But anyway, that song Outside.
I wouldn't call what he added pizzazz.
I mean, he was on the song. He was in the background. But the guy from Stain, Aaron Lewis, was playing the jam.
Lewis.
And, it wasn't really that hard on chords.
Yeah.
You learned it right away. But
that was a good starter song, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just the song or, the vibe of the time, but you know, it was like, that was a song you could learn.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it was, that's what I'm saying, like, with guitar, like, I don't know if you have that same effect, like, with the bass guitar, you know? Like,
that's interesting.
The guitar is sort of this unique instrument in itself.
Yeah.
And to kind of hold that power of, like, it was at some, like, festival concert, but, it kind of takes me back to, like maybe a song like the Beatles or something where it's just Paul McCartney and the guitar, you know, it's not, you know, you don't really need a whole band. You might just need,
you
know, the guitar. What was, do you remember a song, like, wanting to learn?
Yeah. The very first song I learned after you taught me how to read tabs, I went home that day and I printed out, like, it was Marilyn Manson's "Sweet Dreams."
I remember that.
And my memory was that was the very first song I ever sat down and just practiced and learned, like, just off the internet. Printed off some tabs. Like I didn't learn the whole song. Like if you played what I play on top of, like, the actual song, there's so much more going on with the song. But what I'm saying is, it was the first parts of the song. It was the first attempt at learning something and I actually learned it. You know, went through the whole process of really sloppy finger work, awkward notes, you know, not completely realized, and I did it again and again. Like, I remember getting home from school, I sat down on the side of the building where we lived. It was like a teacher's complex. I just sat down on some rocks with a guitar and started, like, trying to learn it. And, like, I don't know, it took, I want to say, like, an hour or two, 3 hours maybe. And I just sat there and just kept playing it and playing it and playing it. And it went, like, from awkward to, it was almost like digging for a song, and then, you know, at some point you scratch the surface and you realize it's actually there. It's like, it was like I was hashing it out. It was like, I couldn't hear what I was playing. I couldn't hear what the song was. Like, I couldn't, like, this can't be right. This isn't the song. And then when it finally clicked, and you realize, like, yeah, that is it. I actually can play this. It kind of gave me that boost where you're like, yeah, I'm gonna play this thing harder. I'm gonna work harder at it. And finally heard the song. And it was with the guitar, and I remember the, like, super uplifting feeling that it gave me. This like, in my heart, like, music, man, music. I think it's almost a silly question to ask somebody, hey, do you like music? It's like, of course, we all love music. Everybody. There's not a single person that doesn't. And the real thing is, you know, what speaks to them. And, man, the guitar, vocals, you know, vocal cords and the guitar, for me, that's what draws me to music. And the first song I played was Marilyn Manson's "Sweet Dreams." And I just remember the feeling, you know, that deep, I don't know, it's like doing something you were meant to do. When you do it for the first time, you feel it and realize it. Like, it's this really calming and settling feeling. Like, I don't know, I can't describe it. But it was a guitar. It was a guitar that gave me one of those moments.
Was there ever another instrument you tried before?
I remember I tried to learn guitar before, and it never clicked. It's like, this is hard, this is difficult, it makes no sense.
Mm.
And so it was almost like, I started with a guitar and never got it, and then I got guitar again and got it. And it was really a difference of motivation. Like I wasn't inspired by the first person who was teaching me, but the second person that I met by complete chance, he played beautiful music and had a beautiful voice, and he had a beautiful life, and it inspired me to want that, what he was creating with his guitar.
Yeah.
And as far as like other instruments, like, I think a recorder, I think everybody who's ever been in like old school schools has handled a recorder. You know what I mean? Like a flute. I think when I was down in Ajo, at the Curly School, my buddy had like a really old Victor. He had a really old fiddle, a violin, and it wasn't tuned. And the bow that he had, it was like really beat up. I guess the bow is like a really key part. Like it changes how it rubs across the strings, and even though it was all busted and out of tune, that was another instrument that I felt like I started to pick up pretty quick, just because of how good it felt to hear it. It was interesting that it was another stringed instrument.
Yeah. Well, what about the piano?
Oh, yeah. I was racking my brain, like, what other instrument? Yeah, I actually went to a piano class, and I took a music fundamentals and learned how to read notes. Like that changed everything. But that was long after learning the guitar too. Like learning to read notes. The first notes I could read were tabs, and it was you that taught me them. And I ventured into piano, and I have a piano here, but man, I don't play it like I thought I would. It's almost like when I first bought my guitar, and it just kind of sat there because I didn't know what to do with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you showed me the way, and I took it from there, and got the re-inspired part and continued with it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what was important about that time was, there was a lot of people learning and,
yeah.
But yeah, tabs are the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't know where to start.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go back to this. I'm gonna go down to the ending of it. It says, listening to music and in this case, your own sweet licks can take your mind off or thereby reduce pain. Do you think? That's what I'm saying, like, as therapy and stuff, like,
yeah,
just being kids wanting to play music in that process, kind of, doing some therapy.
Yeah. This, well, do you have a story about that? Healing yourself? Because I was thinking about, have I ever sat down injured and played the guitar while it was there? And felt if it was therapeutic, and I didn't really have a story like that. Or I got one, but I'm wondering, do you have something?
I'm trying to think, like, honestly, like, throughout my whole life, there's always been a guitar just kind of laying around in the background.
That's cool.
And even now, like, I'm studying at a ukulele.
Cool.
Because that's an instrument that I picked up over the past couple of years. So, some days I'll just pick it up and just, play like I really need to play.
Yeah.
And other times I'm just holding it.
Yeah.
Just trying things out. But I never thought of it as more therapy than just kind of like, let me just try to mess with this riff and let me mess with this string for a little bit, because with the guitar, it's just kind of, I wanted to pick up the guitar like around 7th to 8th grade.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Around that time where I took it seriously, but my grandma had a guitar in her closet, and like I remember it would just come out at random times, and it was my aunt's boyfriend. One day he took it out and he was playing it, and I don't know if it was just kind of like, are you bullshitting, or are you really trying to play it, or is it that easy just to pick it up? So I was just kind of like, I want to try to learn. But really it was a lot of Nirvana.
Yeah.
That was kind of, fueling the fire, maybe? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of that's what I'm trying to think of. Can you think of any scenes, like, a movie like Desperado or some kind of like film where guitar was portrayed as this thing that was going to save, or this instrument that was going to, that just went over the top and did what it needed to do.
Have you? I'm always bringing up movies. Have you seen The Crossroads?
Yeah.
The freaking they're chopping heads at the end of the movie. You know what I mean? And what's the guy's name? The kid, the Karate Kid. He was actually playing that fucking guitar. He was playing that thing. The Karate Kid. He was playing guitar in there.
But you saw that. When did you see that? When did you see that movie?
I want to say I definitely was playing guitar before that. I was trying to think of one that I saw after, or that I saw, and then I was like, I want to play guitar. I can't think of like a really older movie that had something like that to it, except for maybe Desperado.
Yeah.
El Mariachi. No, I don't. the knockoff one. I can't think of one, but the only one I could really think of where it was like a superpower, or like it had a power and everything rode on it. It was The Crossroads. It was like all that build up to one final battle, and it was like the whole time he was chasing another style. And it turns out, like, the classics that he was learning from the beginning that he probably didn't hold, so highly as the blues. And then it winds up being the classics that save him in the end. Like, he went back to, what he had already known and didn't value all that much, but then he brought it home. Really cool. Really powerful. I actually want to go back and watch that now. At least the chopping head scene.
Yeah. What about about Unplugged. I mean, Nirvana Unplugged.
Okay. So, way back when, when I lived in that house that you used to live into, the other teachers complex. What time is it? All right, so check it out. I gotta stop at 7:45 at the very latest. So we got like 50 minutes. Crap. What was I gonna talk about? I lost my train of thought. Like,
we're talking about Unplugged, and we're talking about the place.
All right, so where we lived at the same place, and that puts me at a certain age. I think we moved out to Coalfields from there when I was 12, maybe 11. So when we lived in that house before I was 12 or 11, I was probably 9 or 10. And I remember my sister's always been 3 years older than me, and she, I guess, came across the Nirvana Unplugged album. Like, there was a whole bunch of music she would play that kind of are still stuck with me in my mind. But she played that album a lot, like really loud. We'd get home from school, and she'd play it all loud, and I just remember like dicking around whatever I did at age 10 or 11. Or whatever age it was long before that, watching the Crossroads. It was like music, and it was Nirvana, really good Nirvana music. They're playing like greatest hits for the Unplugged album, and I remember that was like played over the background. It was like background music to my youth. And it was, acoustic guitars with Nirvana. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like that's one of the albums. Like when I grew older and could buy my own shit and would have CDs, I would put money on getting the CD. I went back and like thought about the music that she played, like Bush and Nirvana and Cake and I want to say Blink 182. Not Blink 182, Weezer.
Oh yeah.
So like all this, let's say it's 90s music. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Alternative. There you go. So
yeah.
All that. Oh, and Alanis Morissette. I have to say I love that album.
Uh-huh.
I have to admit it. That we were talking about guilty pleasure before. I'm a big Alanis Morissette fan. But anyway, going back. Unplugged, fantastic album. That was like coming into music, where I started to appreciate music. Nirvana was one of those main bands. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I mean he broke one of the rules on that set. He actually had electric acoustic, I believe.
Really?
To play the David Bowie cover, Dinosaur of the World. But, I mean...
Broke the rules.
He got away with it, but... I mean, that was the thing with Unplugged, was it was sort of like... And maybe that's what I'm trying to get at, with maybe the difference between an acoustic guitar versus an electric guitar, and... maybe the power of just the acoustic guitar itself. But Unplugged was kind of like break your songs down and let's see if they really hold up or how they hold up. With no distortion or delay.
Yeah, well, no frills, right? Like there's no gimmicks. It's like just these people with their acoustic instruments. So it's just them and an instrument, no frills.
All right, so this one says, sharpen your mind. A new Scottish study says if you play the guitar or any musical instrument for that matter, you're more than likely to have a sharper brain function which can help guard against mental decline in the future.
Great.
Open the songbook and study up.
Huh.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, like, there's always been a guitar just kind of in reach, so I always feel like if I need to hold one and have it, then it's there. But I don't know if I ever thought of it as me just kind of sharpening my brain.
Huh. Can I just say this? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I just want to say I love that you've done this research. You got these bullet points. You're like looking forward to it. I love it. It's great.
Well, what the fuck? Do you think it sharpens your brain?
Yes.
I mean, if you didn't learn the guitar or, never...
I think picking up the guitar at the time that I did improved my life. And I would be lying if I said that it had saved me too. Music and the guitar. And I would even say it made sure I had friends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I found people I found it like-minded individuals through the guitar. I mean, I think we were all friends anyway, but it was like it solidified our friendship. And camaraderie was the guitar. And during that time, that age in our lives, man, we were awkward as fuck. Like, we were 7th and 8th grade, like you said. Middle schoolers, not quite high schoolers, so we were just kind of like awkward and trying to fit in. Just trying to get through our day, And I think what's kind of cool about the guitar too is it's sexy. Like it's attractive. And I'm not saying that's why I learned it. I'm saying that was a perk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of made you dangerous. Oh, he's a guitar player. He's a guitar player. He's a guitar player. Okay.
You think you're, you think you will have the same reaction if you were like maybe a violinist or you play a saxophone? You think it'll be the same?
A flautist?
It'll be the same response you're saying with the guitar?
All Kenny G and shit?
Flute?
Yeah. Jazz flute? I don't know. I would say like those more classical instruments, and I don't even want to say that the guitar isn't classical, but like when I think of an orchestra and they've got all these instruments like the cello and the violin, I never would have thought of that as like dangerous, sexy, or badass. Well, in all fairness, there is the sexual and pleasurable appeal of the music from a violin and a cello. I'm not taking away from that. What I'm saying is like, oh, he's a cello player. You know what I mean? Like, hey baby, I'm a cello player. I'm a hardcore violin man. I'll play your strings like a violin.
I could do it. Viola, cello, solo.
I'm a hardcore oboe player.
I play the trombone like So sexy.
That sounds sexy. The trombone.
Alright, so
it's got bone in it. Okay.
This is the one I kind of going back. I remember reading about this, but I'm gonna read. This says, seducing a total stranger. Just carrying a guitar case can seriously boost the odds of women wanting you.
Yes.
Even if they're total strangers. Finds recent research in psychology of music. How come studies show women associate music ability with intelligence, commitment, hard work, and physical prowess?
Oh, yeah.
And ladies associate all those qualities with your ability to earn money, the researchers say. So I remember it was kind of similar to this, but it was an article saying, like, I mean, it was a separate. That's why I was asking them, like, the other instrument, like, the guitar kind of is different than a trombone or even a violin.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this research where they were, like, seeing if a guitar player could actually, like, I don't know if it was get the girl's number or get her to go in her direction, but it was because it was a guitar and he was, again, kind of maybe associating, you know, oh, I can play, I'm intelligent, or I don't know, like,
I don't quite agree with the whole he's an earner. When I think of, like, the classic guitar player, I think of, like, a guy sleeping on his buddy's couch. You know what I mean? Like, unemployed, you know, musician. I mean, there's plenty of musicians out there making a ton of money. And they're intelligent because they're studying and practicing something, you know, an art form. But that's the first image that comes to my mind is this smelly, long-haired kid sleeping on his buddy's couch, not earning a damn dime. But I guess, you know, you were talking about women thinking about that. Maybe.
No, I mean, it was like, would it be the same reaction regardless if it's the guitar or another instrument? But
well, maybe the studied part, maybe the earner part. I don't know about the sexual prowess part. Like I bet you anything Kenny G got laid because of his flute or whatever he played. I'm sorry for all the Kenny G fans out there. The instrument that he specifically played, I bet he got laid because of his instrument. But I still smile and laugh when I think about Kenny G. Okay?
Yeah? Well, I'm thinking like, what is the Kiss guitar player? Not Kiss, Rolling Stones.
Dude, I never remember any artist's name. So right now, we've gone out of my movie league into your music band member league. So why don't you tell me who this guitarist is? You said
Keith Richards.
Okay.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he's had his fair share of ladies that admiring his guitar skills, but he's also, you know, still very, I think they still tour. They get down.
So don't play with me 'cause you're playing with fire. Rolling Stones. I know Kirk Hammett from Metallica.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess I do know a few people's names. But what is that?
All right, so
we still got time. All right. So the question you're saying is that prowess, is the view of a guitarist the same as another instrument? And I say no. Overall, is my impression. No overall is my answer. And then I think there's exceptions.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like really good, like the best. And, and what I was a point that I was trying to make earlier about the violin and the cello. I never thought of them as like hardcore or badass. I mean, in their own right, they're a freaking badass instrument. Like I love the music that comes from them, but like Danger and hardcore, I don't think about that. But then I think I was in Ajo and I heard Apocalyptica. You know, and they're ripping on their cellos.
Yeah.
I think they're a Norwegian band. I don't know, but they're like that. That was a violin and a cello, seeming hardcore badass.
Yeah. No, I mean, any instrument can be magnificent, but
yeah. And then think about John Legend and the piano.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? I think you know what I mean. I think that's
that's
a definition right there.
So are we talking about?
I'm talking sexuality right now. I think we're no longer talking about guitars here. I think that we've turned the corner here.
I think what we're talking about is individual channeling a very charged up emotional piece of music with whether it be a piano, whether it be a guitar. But I'm saying a lot of times it's going to be the guitar.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
But nothing against the piano or any other instrument. It's just, that's just how things are. But I also think it's related to like the music we listen to. Like a lot of times, those are the instruments that people are using. Is the guitar, bass, the drums. Those are pretty much the general instruments.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wonder if there'll be an instrument in the future that takes over the guitar, like makes the guitar look like a ukulele. You know what I mean? Like you brought a guitar,
you brought a guitar to the Flugenheim battle. I don't know. I screwed it up. I was trying to sound badass. Just laugh. You brought a guitar to a fight.
You're still giving your brain a workout. According to a Cambridge University study, musicians continue being creative even when they're not playing their instrument. Researchers found that performers visualize music in terms of shapes and then process that as it forms of practice. Most don't see it as such, but it's a highly creative way of learning.
Interesting.
When I worked at UPS, and I would, they have everything sort of like numeral, organized. Like you got to know where your numbers are at and where to put them at in the truck.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would see numbers, but I would imagine how they sounded on the guitar. Or not how they sounded, but how they looked. Like, sometimes when I see numbers now, I kind of see sounds.
Really?
I mean, just kind of like a general, like, oh, how would that sound on the guitar? Or how would that sound on, if it were a chord, you know?
Interesting.
When I see numbers, I don't know. What about you? Or
so, when I'm working, if I got some music going in the background, I work a lot harder and easier. Things hurt a little less. My mind, I don't, the time, I'm not thinking about time anymore. I'm thinking about notes. I'm not thinking about how bad my back hurts from lifting heavy shit. It's just like, I'm picking this up, and sometimes I might pick it up even faster because the beat that I'm listening to is faster. I think I had this whole thing of learning before the guitar came into my life. So that was a little more solidified for me, and I think like my way of learning was solidified long before the guitar. But when the guitar came into my life, it like reinforced it and strengthened it. Because I don't. When I look at numbers, I don't associate it with music and notes. I associate it with like math. And I know that sounds stupid, but I mean, like I'll look at numbers and automatically start adding them together and thinking of like what their common number is. Like an 8 and a 4 is 2. Like their common number, it's a factor of 2. They're even numbers. If I see an 8 and a 4, whether it's in front of each other or in back, like I'll think 48, 84, 12, times 4. Like it math starts running through my head. Not quite music. So for me, no. Like the whole. I'm saying when I see the numbers, I don't see notes the way you do. But music is definitely. I think back to the previous point that you brought up, the other factoid or whatever it was. It made my learning different. I guess is what I'm getting at. I feel like I'm doing a poor job of expressing how I feel about what you're asking me. And
sometimes it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
But maybe it's for me, maybe the relationship to numbers and how you can kind of get something out of the numbers to play a song. I don't know if it's just all kind of intertwined, but it feels like kind of knowing the numbers, at least I can kind of find my way on this fretboard. But yeah, no, maybe that's what it comes down to, is the numbers, our relationship to numbers. Like, maybe we don't hear a sound, but like we're able to hold some value to it, to where we might use it later on, or I don't know, I guess it's how how you're using your creativity or how you're doing something with, you know, all this data you picked up, you know, just by learning a song or, you know, learning a song uses this chord or, you know, even drop D. Like, you know, I remember learning how you can drop the E string to sound like the D to make.
Yeah.
To almost just, you know, create this whole different system.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of changed everything.
Yeah, so I mean, it was just, maybe numbers weren't needed to figure that out, but they definitely helped in the sense of, you know, knowing the value of a number and it being less or equal or even more than the next number. But, you know, I was also reading about how like, besides, like, you know, maybe a piano or another instrument where you're having to look at music, guitar, you know, you don't necessarily need to look at the music. You know, you can kind of know what the chords are and just kind of go from there. So that you're kind of almost not focused on where your hands are at, but you're able to look at your hands. And was there ever a guitar player when you think of like people playing guitar, like who was a guitar player that stands out in your mind that would say like over the top? Or
Kurt Hammett. Oh, you know who was over the top? It was one of the very first artists that Well, I told you the guy that inspired me to play guitar. He lent me a CD and it was Esteban. You know the dark gargoyle that hangs over his guitar.
Yeah.
With the big black cat. Like that. He was one of those guitar players. Esteban. My name is Esteban. He was one of those guitarists, like over the top, like.
Oh yeah.
He's a hardcore like finger picker, like. There's a song playing in my head right now. I can hear it. I can't make that sound with my mouth. But he's like playing all 6 strings, you know, or 5. He's using all 5 fingers and just rocking all these strings, playing all these notes, just going up and down the fretboard, just making incredible music, you know. And that was inspiring. I never really shot to be that good. Like that just seems so beyond what I could learn. You know who else is really fucking good? They're a pair. Is Gabriella and Rodrigo. Like if anybody's gonna look up a band, like I think they're a little more mainstream than Esteban. Like he's more classical guitar, like classical songs and music, like just some of it's like heavy Spanish and Mexican music. But Gabriella and Rodrigo, they're both like classically trained, and it kind of really reminds me of like Cuban music. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, but I'll definitely check it out when we're done.
Look them up for sure, man. Gabriello and Rodrigo. They did the soundtrack for one of the fucking Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Like they're really incredible guitarists. If you look at the YouTube video for Gabriella and Rodrigo, one of the best songs that I could just, like, it's kind of universal, If you look at the video image, the thumbnail, it's them like sitting in like a brown, dusty canyon with all this like giant, almost concert-size speaker system set up on like. It looks like all the shit you would see at like a live concert, like the really big speaker setups, but they're just standing out in the desert or in like this like Utah canyon, and they're really fucking willing.
I might have seen that one.
I think if me and you have hung out back in the day, I've definitely played it.
Yeah.
But go back and check them out. They're fantastic, over the top, classically trained. Like
they're playing guitar, right?
Yeah, they're both playing guitars.
Yeah.
And they have two totally different styles too. Like back to that whole fingerprint deal that we're talking about.
Mm.
But they work. Like together, they work. Really badass music.
Interesting.
Do you have an artist that you had in mind?
Well, I think of the band, they're Dillinger Escape Plan. The guitar player, like, the music is very, like, some people might call it math rock, but it's like hardcore, and it's just, you know, a lot of just scales, and, you know, it's just chaotic.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that.
One of their albums is called Calculating Infinity, one of their older albums.
Calculating Infinity.
But their guitar player would just, like, physically just hurt himself and just do all these crazy things. But he would be playing, or like he'll be swinging, hanging from his legs, like a light fixture, and
oh hell!
You know, but like he would just be putting himself through a lot of torment. But you know, at the same time, he's really playing these hard ass riffs. And, the first time I saw them, it was pretty tight because they were playing on their amps. Like the venue they were playing at was so small that they had to stand on their amps to play. So it's like it's not like so they didn't have a lot of room to move around, but it was just so chaotic that it was. You know, I think back then too, like, seeing a guitar player and, you know, all the pedals they use, their, you know, their equipment, and going to shows back in the day, you would just look at the guitar setup and, you know, see what they have, and, you know, so, you know, you tell, like, when the band gets up there, they have the guy that kind of does that for them, but, like, you know, it was just, he was kind of like setting they set a little tone for like how a guitar player can be a showman too, or kind of be a part of like the show you're seeing. But I remember this one time there was this one band, oh man, I'm gonna get their name wrong. But the guitar player was like playing solos like crazy, like the guitar, like it was, but he was also doing like the death metal vocals. Man, I wish I remembered their name. You know, but that was also always kind of intriguing too, if you could play guitar but also kind of sing too. But then I started to go back to like the grunge era with like Nirvana or Pearl Jam or something. Where there's songs where they're using the acoustic. And there's more singing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, man. Just music in general is. I almost feel like it's a life of its own. It's like a life-giving force, and I think something about it has to do with vibration, and how like electricity and atoms, they all kind of have like a pattern or a wave, like a vibration. And when you play music, like when we were talking earlier about editing the video, we were talking about overlaying them, and you know how it kind of reinforces the sound wave, makes it a little bit louder, it kind of amplifies it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the waveform of music in general, and how guitars literally, the guitar string vibrates in a wave. Like I've seen it in the light. When you strum a string, and if you really look at the string, it creates a sound wave, like that vibrato kind of squiggly line. And I kind of feel like our lives we're electrical beings. We're made up of atoms, and atoms have these electrical vibrations. They're full of energy and they move. And they have their own signatures, like all of us. And then you play music on top of that. And it's almost like reinforcing and reducing and increasing and canceling and amplifying. Like it has all these qualities to our lives. And I kind of wonder if these chords that we have settled upon and called music, G, D, E, A, all that. Like I wonder if our bodies produce those chords in some form or another, at some level.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we like or hate certain songs is, to us personally, those songs carry certain waves that have a negative effect on us versus a positive. So a declining or canceling effect on our bodies and our minds, like us as a person, as an electrical being, it physically affects us in that way. Because whenever I hear music, like there's some songs that I can listen to, and immediately, like no matter what mood I'm in, immediately just start shedding tears. Or like immediately get hyped where I just want to jump up and start like dancing. You know what I mean? Like an immediate reaction to certain songs.
Yeah. Huh.
Anyway, it's just a thought. I'm riffing at this point. I'm getting a little nervous. We're getting close to like my deadline here.
Yeah.
Do you have? I guess that was my final word. Do you have any final word about music or guitars in general?
I think, like you just kind of said with those notes that were, are kind of notes that everybody has, but they kind of use to their own.
Yeah.
Their own style or their own vibe, whatever. But,
yeah.
I don't know if it's just the music that we're exposed to, or the music that's popular, or the music
that's interesting.
That maybe our older relatives listen to, or
yeah.
I don't know. I just think too, like so much of the music I started on was music that was my cousins, and then I still listen to a lot of that music, but I also kind of found my own sound.
Yeah, exactly.
What I like, and but just to kind of be able to pick up the guitar and kind of play to all of that, it's a special power.
Yeah.
And I think we can have more talks on this. There's a lot of guitar players that I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Probably should be mentioned. Because I think also what it comes down to is like charisma.
Yeah.
Kind of like sort of this confidence.
Yeah, it does.
Because, and then even the fact that, learning how to play it was kind of the start of the confidence, like what you're saying, like you start to be able to play a song and suddenly you're kind of proud of yourself. Suddenly, I can play that song or I can play that. We didn't get into it, but there's a lot of riffs. So maybe we can talk about riffs in our next, guitar series.
Coming up, yeah. The series on guitars. Well, the last little tidbit I wanted to add was like when you were talking about music you're exposed to and popularity. They're popular for a reason. I'm taking a step further and saying it could be vibrations. That these, all this, the famous, like when somebody becomes famous is because a lot of people are vibing with it. Like it hits a chord. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. What's up?
Well, you're right.
Well, I never get tired of hearing that. All right. All right. I'm hitting the red button here, brother.
All right.
All right. Here we go. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Bruce.